Ah.
Creative journalist. I break new ways of looking at stories. That's what I'm trying to do.
Your daughter's a whore. Religion is a neurological disorder. Cut the schnizzle!
These morons are out there protesting for Hamas.
You don't give women enough credit. They care just as much about politics and issues as men do, and I would say, sorry, they don't.
Americans have got to learn how to take a joke.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to I Hate Bill Maher, a podcast about how I hate Bill Maher. Jesus, God, and listen, I have an excuse this week for fucking up my own intro. I'm really, really tired because I was up very late watching an episode of Club Random. I am Will Weldon. I'm the titular Bill Maher hater, but also I've got a guest, as I usually do. Exciting guest. He's on the other side of the continent right now. He's a comedian. He's a really funny guy. I've known him so long. I've known him since he had long hair. And then he cut his long hair, and now his long hair is mostly back.
It's back. It's bigger than ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone else, it is Brodie Reed. Brodie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for letting me express how much I hate this human being. And when I found out that you made this podcast, I was high-fiving myself. I was just like, fucking Will, thank God. I just need someone to dedicate their energy to ruining certain people's reputations, and I think that you're honestly doing a lot of good work.
I just don't know that he has whatever. I don't know that he has I think the people he has a reputation with, it's unruinable because those people are also as despicable as he is.
Yeah, there's a lot of people we need to take down, honestly. I feel like he has this kind of he has this kind of status where he's been like a name for so long that even if he says something controversial, he can just lay low for a second and then everything is kind of fine. Also, his show is still on the air.
Yes. So sorry, 1 second. We'll get into
go for it.
So normally we start off the show, we do Bill Maher news.
Yeah.
The closest thing there is to Bill Maher news is Douglas Murray, who is a famous UK racist. Far-right racist. He wrote a story about Bill Maher, like an op-ed about Bill Maher in the Post. I was like, the New York Post, Douglas Murray, even I have my limits. I did not read it. So then that's Bill Maher news.
I just want to know if it's for or against, because it could be either way, honestly.
I bet it's mixed. Because they're like, we appreciate that he's a warrior for free speech, but we don't like that sometimes he has speech we would like to murder.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into the questions part of the show. First question I ask all the guests, and this ties into kind of generally what you were talking about. The first question is, prior to being asked to be on the podcast, what is your history with Bill Maher?
I'm glad you asked. So when I was in high school, and I kind of hated everything on TV other than South Park, Conan, and Bill Maher.
So to be clear, you are a famous goth. You are a famous former.
This poster was an accident, by the way. I didn't know this was going to be in the shot, but that is the Crow. He's just posted on my wall here in the attic that I'm living in at my parents' house. I'm a famous goth, at least in the LA comedy scene. But the only TV I watched when I was younger was Conan, and then that would lead into Bill Maher. It was very similar time slot. And at the time I was just getting into politics, and I knew that I was interested in politics. This was when, post 9/11, and we still had gay marriage was the only thing people were really kind of talked about. But I was still going to marches and shit with my friends. So I was excited to kind of increase my political literacy. And because I didn't have political literacy, I thought, hey, this guy, I like some of these rules that he's coming up with. You know what I mean? And I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he was a comedian or whatever. I just knew that he had people who I knew on his show every once in a while. And I was just like, this guy, maybe he's got a point. He's kind of has the same energy of Jon Stewart or whatever like that. And now I rewatch like old episodes, like the episode that you showed me. I'm sure I watched it like when it aired, and I'm like cringing at everything. Um, and now, like, I think I don't think back when I knew nothing about the Middle East other than it's complicated,
Uh-huh.
I thought he was like a good person for kind of like highlighting some of these issues. He had that movie and stuff like that. And now, retrospectively, I know that he's literally just a Zionist, and a lot of puzzle pieces are clicking.
Yeah, I mean, it's as a little sneak preview. Oh, we get some classic Bill Maher racism in this one. There's like very few words that aren't slurs that become slurs when said by a specific person as Arab when Bill Maher says it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that's the first question. Now we're entering into the judgment-free question zone.
Okay.
So the whole deal.
I promise not to judge you for these questions.
I mean, you can judge my questions. I think 2 weeks ago, Andrea told me I had shitty questions for her.
Okay.
This is 3 questions. I've come up with them just for you. They might apply to other people, but these ones I've come up with just this week. However you answer, no judgment. If it's disturbing, if I know you're lying, no matter what, no judgment from me. First question. So you recently, you spent some time living in Japan.
Yeah.
Let's say you're either back there or while you're there, someone approaches you and they go, hey, there's some comedians in town. They're doing like an expats comedy show.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be so much like English speaking Japanese people as it's going to be like American expats, European expats. They want you to, everybody's going to do like 10, 15 minutes on the show. It is hosted by Bill Maher. So he's going to be in the green room the whole show. Do you do the show?
Honestly, I probably would just to ruin it. I think I would genuinely sabotage the show, having nothing to lose. And I would also be very judgmental of every person who like went to see that show, and it kind of makes sense. So when I was there, I spent the last week in Osaka, and then I went to Tokyo. And I knew I was going to go to a comedy club in Tokyo, but I didn't expect to find like the only comedy club in Osaka. I was just like walking around one night. And there's a comedy club called ROR. Guess what that means?
ROR.
ROR.
What?
It means laugh out loud in an Asian accent.
God.
Super cool. They do English comedy there. It's a very popular spot.
Do they say it like laugh out loud? Or do they say laugh out loud and then like wink?
I think the comedy club is maybe like almost 20 years old, so I think there's a level of we kind of regret this, but but I mean it's still the sign, so
that's so grim. That's so grim to go to another country and still give your business a racist name towards like a particularly sort of like ethnically homogenous country.
Dude, what's even more grim is when I went to the comedy club in Tokyo, I got invited to open for Andrew Michon, who was in town at the time. But like the day before, I went to the club to check it out, and he was on a roast battle. So I watched a roast battle. Every time I watch a roast battle is against my will.
Yeah.
And there's still like an element of just like in this room we're free to be racist or whatever like that. And like honestly, on some level, I'm kind of okay with that in like a room of people who like all agree with it, and it's not like anyone was saying like outright shit that was like totally fascist or anything like that. But I don't know. Every time I try to like really give comedy like a good gung-ho try. I'm just exposed to literally any part of it, and then I'm like, no, I'd rather just like start a farm or and just like die in obscurity, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to be famous anymore. But to answer your question, I would do it and I would actively sabotage it. I think I've gotten to that point in my life where I think for a long time when you do comedy, you don't want to rock the boat,
Oh,
especially of like anyone in the industry. And then I think in the last couple years, especially, just kind of realized that like cowardice is kind of like baked into doing comedy like at its core. Like you don't even have to have like kind of like a training course. Like it's just kind of slowly baked into you over a course of years before you even like get a TV spot or anything like that. So
yeah. I was in the I'll censor their name, but I was in the belly room at the Comedy Store,
yeah.
and came up with a very young woman, and
Yeah.
he was like, this place is like it's like an institution. This is like a hallowed place for comedy. It's like, so people would do anything to like be a regular performer here, and like, I perform here all the time. And she was like, oh, cool. Like, I don't think she spoke great English, and she was like, oh, okay. And he was like, and I've been here for a long time, and like, you get your name on the wall. And I was
Yeah.
sitting there and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what the brave choice is here. If I just
Yeah.
sit and silently and make fun of him to everybody I know later, if I
Yeah.
look at that woman and go, I will pay your Uber ride out of here right now if you
Man,
want.
I've never related to an internal conflict more. I feel the same way. The fact that people know who Kill Tony is, I realize that people like regular people know what Kill Tony is and watch it on a regular basis. And I found this out last year, and I felt like how I think like the character Blade when other vampires were able to like go out into the sun and was just like what you know what I mean like only that's not you guys aren't supposed to know about this.
Oh no, our secret shame has become public. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it's like
really
if everyone knew who your high school bullies were and celebrated them. It's
yeah.
like very strange.
Yeah, there was a really popular subreddit for the guy who used to like make fun of you in 11th grade.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so question 2.
yeah.
So I don't know if you're seeing anybody at the moment, but let's just say somebody you're really, really into. You've been into them for a long time.
Okay.
In fact, they were in a relationship for a long
Hmm.
time, and you could tell there was something between you guys, but you're both being responsible. They break up, and this person
Okay.
goes, "Hey, do you want to like go out with me to this thing?" And you're excited, and then they
Hmm.
go, "It's to a taping of Real Time with Bill Maher."
Oh man.
Do you go?
I would be like, well, first of all, if I like this person, I would hope that they would go because they wanted to like throw paint or something on the set, and interrupt it. Maybe I don't know, bring a gun.
You know what
That
they
would
do?
be cool.
They tell you they're like, this was, I know I know he's kind of a piece of shit, but like my dad really loved this show, and I watched
Yeah.
it all the time with my dad, so the show is like important to me, and I'd like to go to a live show once and
Yikes.
think of my dad.
Gosh, that that's an extremely difficult question to be honest. I would honestly probably lie. I would be like, "Ah, man, I wish I could. I have a dentist appointment that day or something like
That
that."
night.
It's a really late dentist appointment. She's only open at night that night.
She auditions during the day, and
Yeah.
she's
Damn.
okay.
Gosh, that's a hard question.
All right. So, final question.
Yeah.
You're at Ralph's, Vaughn's, Gelson's. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's middle of the country. What that one? That grocery store that's in Texas that the Spurs are always doing ads for. You're walking to your car in the parking lot. You hear a rattling noise, and somebody goes, "Stop that cart! It's getting close. It's might hit my car." You look back. It's Bill Maher saying that, and barreling towards this car is a a shopping cart filled with paint cans that have no lids on them. But you can see from the angle, this
Yeah.
cart's gonna miss his car and is going to
Oh.
sort of just land in like hit a wall and splash the paint on like the wall of the store. Do you give it a bit of a hip check to try
I
to
would
read?
redirect that cart right into his car. Absolutely. And then I would probably, while he's calling the cops, go get the other carts from the little rack, and then just keep throwing them at him like one by one. I'd be like, who are they gonna believe, dude?
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to clarify, like, he'll see you redirected, but you made it very clear immediately
Yeah.
that not only do you know that, but you want him to know.
Yeah. I would key his car if they had missed. If he was nowhere near his car, I would follow him to his car and then key it. Anything. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So then it's the judgment-free question zone. Maybe gives people a bit of a notion of maybe how you feel about Bill Maher, if they can maybe
Yeah.
parse your feelings out from those answers.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the real-time recap.
Real-time recap. I hate Bill Maher. You can't change my mind. Real-time recap.
Bulk of the episode. Before we go deep, though, just a few quick things off the top. First of all, topics covered this week. The War on Terror. The Awful Kerry campaign. Is Iraq better off without Saddam? Young people voting. Do Arabs even want freedom? And the elusive voting security mom. And some numbers. $500 million settlement by tobacco companies, 11 seasons of MASH, 4 hurricanes that hit Florida, 2 29-year-olds Bill Maher has spoken to, umpteen brutal dictators, 8 monologue jokes, 6 new rules, and 1 man who is insanely horny for Maureen Dowd. Okay, so this episode, so we go through the episode in order, segment by segment, which means we start with the little cold open comedy bit.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say, do you remember what this is a reference? I guess they say later in the episode, but like, do you remember the Killian documents, the forged documents about George Bush's National Guard service?
Sort of. Yeah. Not really, but I'm sure I remember it happening. Everything that happened during the Bush presidency is honestly a blur.
This was such a big deal, and it's so crazy to look at it retroactively and be like, imagine anyone caring at this point about where the president was when he was supposed to be in the National Guard 30 years earlier. Like,
yeah.
So
it's strange to think, because I mean, like, especially post 9/11, we had this whole era of like really softball politics, and even like there's a lot of clapter throughout all of his shows, but like you can hear it here. I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but at one point he kind of like defends tobacco companies and like gets like an audience applause. I'm just like, did he find a bunch of libertarians to laugh at this? I don't understand. But
when a the first half of the show and the second half of the show are 2 completely different animals. It's really wild. So this opening sketch it's like the opening for 60 Minutes 2, which I forgot there was a 60 Minutes 2. Like,
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I looked to make sure the joke wasn't like this week, like they were making a joke like it's 60 Minutes, but 2. No, a real show that aired for 7 years, just more 60 Minutes. And
should have called it 60 More Minutes or something.
Dude, people were so uncreative back then.
Well, it was before we had more Fast and Furious movies. I think we only had maybe like 3 then. So
yeah, that's a great point. The Fast series really showed that you can innovate with your sequential titles.
Exactly.
It's the opening to, it's a parody of the opening to 60 Minutes 2, but obviously because the papers that they reported on were forged, it's Bigfoot, who's not real, talking about Bush's service. And then the next thing they preview is Rembrandts that were found that nobody knew that they were real, and they're obviously not Rembrandts.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is all that plus the world's tiniest horse, and the horse It's actually a dog, so it's a fake horse.
I think he literally got their jokes from those rags that you get when you're at the grocery store, the little tabloids. That kind of makes a lot of sense for him, actually.
He's like in the writer's room, like, what do you mean Bat Boy is copyrighted? I want
Yeah.
Bat Boy in the damn sketch. I mean, yeah, this is so nothing. This is such
No.
nothing.
No. And I was probably eating this up back in 2002 or whenever the fuck this was.
It's like, yeah, like, I don't support Bush, but like 60 Minutes 2 did fucking blow it, dude. Like,
Yeah.
they did blow it on this one. So then they go to the monologue. I'm going to go through the monologue in order. I didn't write
Okay.
I've summarized the jokes because life is too short to
Thank
do
you.
them properly.
Thank
Although
you.
I did make the last episode, I did just play the monologue in its entirety. But do you have any general thoughts on the monologue before I start going through each individual joke?
I mean, I kind of have the same thoughts about the monologue as I do about all of his little quips and stuff like that. Like, I don't know if I ever thought he was like outright funny, but he says things with such like bland confidence that like you kind of give it the benefit of the doubt. Um and like I'm at this point I'm really struggling to like comprehend like how he had a comedy career before the show. I mean, like
He's had some
I
hot takes. He's never had hot jokes. Like,
yeah.
there's never been a bold joke from Bill Maher. He said Carson is his hero, and he still does
Yeah.
comedy. He's trying to do Carson, but like the thing is, Carson already evolved, and that was David Letterman was like the next version of Carson. So there's a guy older than Bill Maher doing Carson's comedy better and in a newer way
Yeah.
than this guy who's younger than him.
Yeah, and he has a writer's room. It's only 4 people even back then, which was pretty small.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard of any of those writers. So I feel like they're all maybe just like on a libertarian like Reddit or something like that he got them from.
Well, I think David Feldman was writing on it at this point, and David Feldman's a funny guy
Mhm.
now. But I mean, look, you're paid to write what you write, what
Yeah.
they want you to write. It's 2004, but also sometimes there are jokes where you'll be like, "Well, you couldn't have paid me anything to write this. I simply would not
Yeah.
have written this joke." The first one, President Bush and Iraqi Prime Minister Alawai said Iraq is going well, even though there are pockets of terrorists situated in one
Right.
area, Iraq.
Yeah.
A classic place joke.
Yeah, it's just kind of like God, it really does feel like, I mean, it's 2004, but it feels like we were in hell for years after 9/11. Man, it was just like just softball, just hitting it off a tee, and I feel like the audience was like held at gunpoint or something like that.
This is nothing. His audience now is
Yeah.
having a religious experience
Okay.
during his monologue. You've never heard
Interesting.
anything like the clapping. And he's talked about how they kept the audiences small because he's like, we got rid of the groaners and the booers. So the crowd just laughs and screams at every single thing he says. They laugh at things that aren't
Interesting.
jokes. They applaud. They think
Yeah.
it's a joke, but he's still just doing the setup because he's trained them to not know what a joke is. Next joke, Alawi. I'm really struggling with it. Alawi has adopted Bush's campaign language. Like, for example, he said, yes, things are bad in Iraq now, but they're still better than when they were under a brutal flip-flopper.
Yeah. I guess that might have been funny back in 2004. Who was he talking about?
So John Kerry, one of the big
John
things
Kerry.
they got him was he was a flip-flopper.
Gosh. You could describe every politician with that right now. I think at this point in the monologue, I was just like, oh yeah, there's an option where I could speed up the video and get through this faster.
Yeah,
I think I watched that 1.5 speed.
Yeah, so I think I did 1.3 this week because
Yeah.
my wife was like, I'm begging you to watch this faster and then go to bed for a little bit after you record. Bush said that More Iraqis are happy with the path Iraq is on than Americans are with America. Wow, there's a campaign slogan for you. America, more fucked up than Fallujah.
Yeah, again, it's like you have to like hate brown people to like find any of this kind of entertaining.
This joke, at least, this is the first joke where I'm like, okay, I see that this is a joke. In terms of
Yeah.
the craftsmanship, I say this is
Yeah.
an okay joke, but the joke does suffer from it's funny, since I've started having to watch it sped up a little bit, I'll do at least 1.1 now
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, I watch it on that and I'm like, oh, watching it like this, his delivery is actually paced better. He's so
Interesting.
methodical that a joke like this, the crowd is out in front of him. The crowd
Yeah.
already knows what the punchline is because obviously he's like, wow,
Yeah.
there's a campaign slogan for you. And then you write the campaign slogan in your head before he says it. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. The next one, another video of a beheading in Iraq went online. Wow, remember the good old days when the worst thing online was a Brazilian woman jerking off a horse?
That's pretty funny, actually.
Well, I was going to ask you, because you're a few years younger than me,
Uh-huh.
is this a specific disgusting viral video he's referencing, or do you think Brazilian woman jacking off a horse is all that writer is like 100% from the writer's room?
I think the internet was like smaller at that point where like, you knew about things like Lemon Party and like Two Girls, One Cup. So I do think that this was just kind of like a word salad of just like he thought of like horse jacking off. And I think Brazilian is really where it's just like, oh yes, that was like a punch up someone had. It's just like
Yeah.
add Brazilian. People love it when you say some
I
random
wonder
country.
I wonder if it wasn't originally a Mexican, because like that's like, what is that, like it's called like a Tijuana show, like a Tijuana donkey show or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm curious if it was originally a Mexican woman, and then they were like, we've made a lot of Mexican jokes over the last year and a half.
To be fair, I think every country that has a horse has probably had videos
Oh, yeah,
in the
sure.
same vein.
It's also funny to take like, probably like, I don't know, like of all the countries, I'm like, really Brazil. It's interesting that they went with
Yeah.
sort of like the sort of richest, well, I guess Argentina as well, but like Argentina and Brazil are like the fancy South American countries. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, I wonder if they're doing class warfare or if they just weren't thinking about it or what their motive, like they
I think they
almost did
needed the
less
name
racism
recognition
by
or something.
accident. Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, the good old days when the worst thing online was a picture of a guy stretching his asshole wide open. Like
Yeah.
we all remember Goatsy. Anyway, I don't need to talk. I mean, you referenced Lemon Party, so I'm not the freak here. We both remember things
Which I've never watched. I'm proud that I've never watched it. I just know the name
I
of
think
it.
I think it's just a picture.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I haven't watched Two Girls, One Cup either, but I did see 2 seconds of it that looked like ice cream to me, and
Yeah.
that's enough.
Famously, yeah. Famously, everybody's like, just looks like ice cream, man. So Donald Rumsfeld said, Iraq will have elections, even though 75% only 75% of Iraqis will be able to vote in it. He said, sometimes you have an election and you have to exclude parts of the country, like we did with the blacks in Florida. Now, this is a thing that's come up a bunch on the show. He, in the year of our Lord 2004, is still using the phrase "the blacks" as
Yeah,
opposed
right.
to black people, African Americans, a
He's
number
still
of
using it.
terms. Yes, I heard him use it with Kid Rock last night too.
Yeah.
So,
And to be clear, we're cool with black people. The blacks is strange. I mean, we don't say the whites. You know what I mean? Personally, I say European American. That's my thing that I've started saying. But like, yeah, you don't have to put any kind of the there. Or
yeah, it's
the
really.
blacks, maybe we could say these days. I think that would be chill.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's a little classy. Yeah, it's really only like the gays. And
Yeah.
even then, it's really only like gay people saying it about themselves where it doesn't seem strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a classic, like, oh, that actually would be an okay joke if you hadn't chosen that specific turn of phrase at the
Right.
end there. Like, they continued to do that, and yet you've made me uncomfortable with it. I would have maybe agreed, and yet you still managed to find a way to make me go, oh, at the end of it.
this whole episode, I was just kind of like, I'm skipping ahead, but I was just like wondering like w- what Aaron Magruder was thinking and if this inspired any scenes in the Boondocks or anything like that.
Aaron Magruder is the most. Nobody has a wider range of quality on the things they
Yeah.
say and how their appearance will go than Aaron Magruder.
Yeah.
The next joke, another hurricane has hit Florida. Governor Jeb Bush said that if Florida was any more devastated, his brother would declare it a complete success. I gotta say, I think that's a really good joke.
That's a great joke, actually. You can tell it's the
Uh,
last one.
that joke's so good. Usually he only gets Ted Kennedy that
Yeah.
good is the target he loves getting. Next one. Okay, this is a weird one.
hmm
Did you say you thought that joke was the last joke?
I
in the
did because
monologue?
it made me laugh, and I already forgot it, even though I watched it 2 hours ago.
So this is a weird. So this next joke is weird. Is maybe why you forgot it.
Okay.
Police have found the abducted chairman of the Sara Lee Company.
Oh yeah.
He was found in a frozen storage locker, and yet his icing was still soft.
Yeah, I was honestly when he said this joke, I was honestly shocked at how everyone laughed at it because it's like a extremely gruesome thing. Like even today, if someone was horrifically murdered and then someone made a joke that was at their expense, I think it would get groans.
It's never at the killer's expense
No,
on this show.
no.
Unless they're Muslim, in which case he will still get all Muslims in the crossfire.
Yeah.
But hold on, he's not done with this premise.
Okay. Oh,
He
yeah, that's
also
right.
goes,
Police believe he was being kept as comfort food by a cannibal fat girl.
Yeah, that should have been cut. It's still got a laugh, which is a shame. Because it's first of all, it's a weak punchline, and I forgot that fat phobia was still going like really strong back.
oh, it's never ended with him.
Yeah.
He is probably more in on it now than ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, two punchlines for this horrific, gruesome premise. One of which is bad and like it's like a soft punchline in that you're like, well, this doesn't. It's missing like a thing. There's kind of no there with the cannibal part. And then the first punchline, you're like, well, I get what you mean because this, Sara Lee makes frozen cakes, but like his icing is still soft. If you think about it for a second, you're kind of like, what? What do you mean?
Yeah.
What's his icing? And then final joke, Janet Jackson's wardrobe. So this is a great Marflub. He says, so bad news for CBS because Janet Jackson's wardrobe
Malfunction.
he messes up the word function and says malfunction cost CBS $500K. And he goes, I don't know where Viacom's going to find that money. Great. I mean, in a way, I laughed at that only because I'm like, yeah, I've been paid extremely late by Viacom. We've all been paid extremely late by Viacom.
Yeah, and still are.
And then he goes, boy, what a tough week for CBS, huh? First the fake Bush memos, and now the Super Bowl fine. And CBS says they've learned their lesson. They are done trying to expose boobs.
I mean, there's certain layers that joke could go in, and I honestly don't know which ones they are.
Dude, like his monologue, it'll be all this like gruesome shit, beheadings. So, and then his last joke, he's like, "That George Bush is a real boob, huh?"
Yeah, truly. I think it's I mean, like back then, I didn't really understand why people like would even like hate on liberals or whatever like that. And now I'm just kind of realizing that like this entire monologue is just like if there's one word in it that's like sort of political, I feel like the audience is like, oh, I have to laugh at this because I'm smart. I get this. You know what I mean? Wholly unfunny. Wholly lack of any kind of entertainment value. And it's one of the it's why I'm surprised that it's still on the air. And I wish I could just not care, but like I know for a fact that like my grandma still watches every episode of his show. You know what I mean?
So this is my thing too, and people will ask like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I can't stop thinking about the fact that this thing exists and it is inexplicable. Like at this point in time, it makes sense why it exists. I will admit this show is an important show at this moment in time.
Yeah.
It holds a place in culture where people are like, that's the only show where you can really say shit. And it's true. On some level, he'll say things where it's like, yeah, if you were on a network, they'd fucking fry your ass for this.
Yeah.
But that ended in once 2008 rolled around, he truly was not transgressive about anything anymore.
No.
He just was like a fucking crank.
You can really kind of see, like back then, I feel like, anyone who was even slightly on the left got kind of a pass, but you can kind of really see that like he's like desperate to like turn like the left into like this, like to add like this machoism to the left, and he thinks that he's like the guy to do that. And it kind of like it really paints his whole perspective in it. Like he's such a libertarian, and it was so hard to see back then. But then he gets into the rest of the episode and you can clearly tell.
Well, and it's this thing too where his like machoisms, as he's gotten older and kind of like more sort of like willowy and frail looking, and he's wearing his like fancy little glasses.
He's smoking his cigars and he's got his leather couch.
Cigars. Loves his joints. He's like drinking his little highballs. And it is a thing. Anytime someone does an impression of him to him, he's like, oh, as if I sound that gay. And it's like, buddy, I hate to break it to you. You sit around, you go, listen here, sweetheart, to like other men. And it's like, you're a confirmed bachelor. You like have your party house next door to your main house. You always dress. You're so particular about how you look.
I'm
it's
surprised
like,
he's never played like a Disney villain. He literally gives that energy.
By the standards of the era from which he tries to take his idea of like machismo, he is actually taking their idea of a gay man.
Yeah, truly.
Like he is morphed into a 1950s closeted gay guy, or just like gay man where everybody knows, but he doesn't talk about it.
Yeah, when just having a cocktail was like enough to signal that someone was gay.
Yeah. Oh, you hold the bottom of your glass in your palm? What the fuck, man? Stay away from my children.
What do you comb your hair? You freaking tard.
Now we're doing 90s masculinity with that one. Then we go to an interview with Charles Rangel.
How are you, Congresswoman? Congresswoman.
Which I was shocked because by the time I became aware of Charles Rangel, everybody was calling him Charlie Rangel. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if they were just doing that like derisively. But it's an interview with Charles Rangel.
I still don't know who that is. I don't think.
So he was a big time, I think the Bronx. He was a congressman from the Bronx. He was one of the founding members of the Congressional Black Caucus. He, in 2010, got brought up on like 10 corruption charges related to not paying taxes, not reporting income on a villa he owned in the Dominican Republic. Like a classic example of a guy where it's like, oh, so you kind of came into Congress on a wave of like civil rights leaders being elected by their constituents. And then you stayed so long that by the end, it's like, well, you only do corruption now. You only do corruption at this point. And the House censored him. He fought it. He threw a fit about it. And after they censored him, they all stood up and gave him a standing applause.
Interesting.
It's one of the weirdest moments.
Strange.
I specifically remember the Daily Show playing the clip. It's really weird that they celebrate him, I guess, for like, well, you took it like a good boy, so now we're going to give you your applause treat.
Strange.
He hated Bush, though, and he really the big thing from this interview, he wanted to reinstitute the draft. That was the thing he kept pushing. Because he was like, if we're gonna go to war, let's make everybody's kids go to war, because then we won't go to war.
Interesting.
He's doing that while simultaneously, I mean, Bill Maher during this interview. Do you remember much about this interview? Do you have any thoughts about it?
No, not because. No, not really.
So Bill Maher, the main thing really is this is the first episode where Bill Maher is fully like, I hate John Kerry. His campaign's bad, and I'm furious about how fucking bad this campaign is.
I kind of got that vibe, yeah.
But what does it say about a guy's courage and wisdom when he, A, doesn't strike back, and B, thinks the Republicans weren't going to play rough.
Yeah, and he says Charles Rangel was a Wesley Clark supporter because he was like, I liked what Howard Dean was saying, but I was like, the governor of Vermont gets serious. And I was like, wow, full respect to this guy for just being like, I like this candidate, but grow up. The governor of Vermont, like, absolutely not. So he supported Wesley Clark. So he also doesn't like Kerry very much. And he's like, you know, kind of being like, yeah, like, you know, he's okay and he's got some good ideas and he'll do this. And Bill Maher's like, come on. And he's like, yeah, I mean, you're right. And then Charlie Rangel makes the case for reinstating the draft. And he says, and there's so many guys, you see him on these shows and you're like, this guy would have been a better nominee than John Kerry, because he says it's too easy to say to land your plane on an aircraft carrier and say mission accomplished when it's not your kids, your friends' kids, kids from your neighborhood who have to go over there. And then Bill Maher goes,
I bet you if they made it a reality show, the kids would go.
Yeah. At that point, I was just kind of like reeling with like the time period in which I was watching this, and also kind of reconciling with the fact that like our culture really hasn't changed that much in the last 20 years. Sadly,
I bet if you made it a freaking reality show, the kids would go over there. But also, he loves reality TV. He talks about it all the time. He's like, don't you hate it? Don't you hate the way the Bachelorette, Rachel, sent home John last night instead of George? And then he actually, I will say, I'll give him credit. He makes kind of a funny follow-up because he goes, Americans will accept any level of mistreatment if they can get on television. And my guests here prove it every week. And I'm like, okay. If you weren't such a piece of shit all the time,
that's a solid
that'd be
segue.
Kind of a charming joke.
Conan would use that segue and I'd laugh. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And then he goes, he's like, all right, thanks for your time.
Keep keeping it real. Thank you for joining us.
And it's like, yeah, keep keeping it real. That's for sure the way you say goodbye to every congressman you have on your show.
The congressman.
And then they go to the panel, which is genuine comedy legend Larry Gelbart, Maureen Dowd, and Aaron Magruder. Now I've started doing a thing just real quick. Why don't you rank the three panelists from your favorite to your least favorite?
Aaron Magruder, obviously the top. When I was pitching, I made a short about reparations a couple years ago, a comedy short, and I like ended up going through this whole pitching process like during the pandemic where we like got to like all the last steps. We like got like celebrities involved with it and stuff like that. And like we were like pitched to like
pitching a short is almost impossible. No one in this country. It is so hard to get money to make a short film in this country.
I mean, yeah, we were trying to make a TV show, but this was like right after, you know, everything that all the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff. So like we had like a little bit like of like greasing the wheels and stuff like that. But in the process of that, and we were talking with my creative team, and we were like talking about Aaron Magruder, and one of my co-writer like worked with him a couple times. And was telling me all about like he hates the industry like so much, and like he'll like actively like develop projects and like sabotage them just to like waste people's time. So like I'm like a big fan of him, just like as a person.
He is a real wild card because some like Kobe Bryant will come up and you're like, oh, Aaron Magruder, no. Like, do not talk about women like this. But then other times somebody will be like, I mean, you have these wacky liberals saying Bush is worse than Hitler. And Aaron Magruder will go, I think Bush is worse than Hitler. And this Republican guy is like frothing at the mouth. And while the guy's so pissed off, Aaron Magruder just looks into the camera and flashes the West Side sign at it.
He's a troll. I don't agree with everything he says either, but I love someone who gets their bag and then continues to give no fucks about anything else. That's it. I love him. I love that about him. And then I'll give it to the MASH guy. MASH was a great show. I don't remember much about Maureen Dowd. Do we like her? Is she cool?
So she's she doesn't give I think she's gotten dumber as the years have gone on. She's an idiot. Now if you mention Maureen Dowd, people like laugh. The last thing she very notoriously wrote was a column about how dangerous marijuana is.
Hilarious.
Because she got way too fucking high and like thought her life was gonna end.
Hilarious.
And so she's like, we don't talk about how dangerous this stuff is. And it's like, oh, Maureen Dowd has no friends because she didn't have anybody to be like, sit down, have some water, you're totally fine. She just like wigged out alone in her apartment in Manhattan. But man,
and he's read everything she's ever read or wrote or whatever.
He fucking loves her. He loves her. It'll come up. So the first chunk of the panel is largely about the Killian memos.
Mm-hmm.
He starts off by he's like he doesn't want Dan Rather. He's like they're trying to get rid of Dan Rather over this.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want him to go, and he says because he's maybe the last old school journalist. He doesn't elaborate what he means by that,
right?
And it's not clear at all.
He is old.
And then,
he has been around for a long time.
Yes, if he had just said he's one of the last old journalists, it's like, sure, he's fucking old.
And I do have respect for Dan Rather, to be honest. He does have journalistic integrity in terms of, you know, the scope of the time he was active and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Dan Rather. Bill Maher goes,
and, you know, I remember when they were trying to make me go away, and I just gets my back up when they're trying to make people go away.
Now, he is still very raw about politically incorrect getting canceled.
Interesting. That's so
it comes up a lot. Even though he's like, this is my dream show. This is everything I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
But anyone getting canceled, like their show getting canceled, he comes up, he's like, they tried to kill me with a gun. They tried to kill me with a knife. They tried to kill me with words. And I'm still fucking here. And they can't stop me. And I'll defend anybody else.
Such a badass.
Yes, so he goes...
I was talking to the congressman there about Kerry and the fact that he might be a little lame. Maureen Dowd, always the smartest kid in the class.
And it's like, buddy, keep it in your
He's so
fucking
horny.
pants.
He's so horny. the whole time.
So they largely talk about... They start with Kerry, the leaks, and then they kind of talk about, you know, the Kerry being like, hey, I would have done the Iraq war better than Bush. And Bill Maher kind of starts off by going like, listen, everybody has to say like, well, of course, Iraq is better off without Saddam, or they have to say the world is a better place without Saddam. He goes, but actually, no, Iraq eventually will be better. But during the Cold War, we supported umpteen brutal dictators just like Saddam because it made our lives better. And before he finishes that thought, Aaron Magruder interrupts him to be like, yeah, I mean, and to talk about imperialism. And Bill Maher goes,
wait, let Maureen Dowd. She wrote this. Let her answer. It got quiet.
But he hasn't asked a question yet. He hasn't said what he wants her because Aaron Magruder's like, well, we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Surely this man did not have me on his show to just talk at me and prompt me when I say something. But he goes, no, let Maureen answer. And Maureen Dowd goes,
so what's the question?
And everybody laughs and Bill Maher goes,
You didn't want me to talk.
And Bill Maher goes,
baby doll, you got the wrong show. You think there's questions here.
Yeah. It's weird that when he's like nervously trying to deflect, he goes into this like 1950s character. Like Mad Men wasn't out yet, but he, you know, it was his favorite show.
Hey, listen, sweetheart, you know, if you're looking for a guy to take it easy on you, you got the wrong fella, Dane.
Why don't you kick rocks, all right? You think we want opinions around here?
So what do you think about their discussion about sort of the Iraq? Should we have gone? And does John Kerry need to be macho, or does he need to sort of pivot and attack this from a different angle?
I mean, the strain, I mean, like everything about the Middle East is like, there was in that period, I don't think that anyone in the 90s or the early 2000s, like in terms of like the general populace, really critically looked at what was going on there and like how much influence that we had and like how much shit that we fucked up. I just think that like you could take any country and make it a punchline, really. And especially when like the war on terror was going on and like we were invading like every country just like looking for WMDs or whatever like that. Like I feel like it was just so easy to like pretend to know what you were talking about when it came to that. And I don't think anyone did that better than Bill Maher, honestly.
And he flattens that entire place
Yeah.
into just the Middle East. Like,
Yeah.
they'll talk about Iran and they'll be like, yeah, Arabs. And it's like, Arabs? Persians aren't Arab, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's all so insanely uneducated.
Yeah. What did he say
And
about
you're right that none of us realized that,
Yeah.
like, you know, it wasn't just this monolithic place
Yeah.
of, like, I don't know, warring tribes with slight differences of opinion.
Yeah, I think when he mentioned women wearing, what is it, hazmat suits or something like that, and then like the
Yeah.
whole audience like just like erupts into applause, like it's lazy, honestly. It's intellectually lazy, which is not a surprise. This whole show is incredibly intellectually lazy.
So they're kind of talking about, like, oh, the war and how should he be approaching it. Larry Gelbart really is killing. Larry Gelbart is a funny guy. At one point he goes, when they're talking about Kerry, he goes,
he's listening to the wrong people, clearly. And I every time I say something against him, I feel maybe I'm helping an undecided say, that's why I want George Bush, so I can't take part in this. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
and it's like so unexpected. Everybody laughs. But then they move on, specifically to, they're talking about, and Aaron Magruder says, he's like, if the Democrats don't get some testicles, they are going to play the scared role and just lose election after their election, lose election after election and get their ass whooped. And I was just like, oh, we live in hell. We live in hell. This is hell. He's right.
Yeah.
And
that's actually what happened, actually.
Like, aside from it being broken up by a senile old man winning because of a pandemic that was handled about as badly as possible, and a generationally charismatic politician winning 2 terms, like, how imagine if Barack Obama had not come around. I feel like we'd be in like our 6th, or there would have been one Democrat to break it up because everybody hated Bush so much. But like,
I shudder to think, like, I still can't believe it's this hard just to find like one person in the party who has like enough charisma to just like start and finish a sentence and like sound like a normal human being. Like, the best option that we got was Kamala, and all she literally had to, when she got announced, I was honestly like happy. Like, I don't like Kamala at all. I actively hate her, and I was still just like, oh, thank God she can talk. She all she has to do is debate him like a normal person. And then she just turned into like, I don't know if they gave her, I mean, I'm sure she got PR training at multiple times in her life, but like, she turned into like a Hallmark card, like even more than she usually is. She's like, she has like the charisma of like a wet cardboard cutout. And there literally is not a single politician in the party who has like more more aura. You know what I mean? It sucks.
Even the ones I like it's somebody like Barbara Lee, where I'm like, God, she's taking all these courageous stances. And then you listen to her talk and you're like, I can't believe this person got elected to Congress. This is one of the most boring speakers I've ever heard in my entire life. And the thing too with Kamala is like, they also seemingly like got rid of like I'm sure they saw this shit where it's like, you know, you didn't just fall out of a coconut tree. I'm sure they saw that and they were like, everybody's laughing at this. We have to make sure she doesn't do shit like this. And it's like, no, people like that now. We're all fucked up. And if a politician makes us laugh because they're weird or senile or whatever, that makes us think fondly of them.
Honestly, since we started doing presidential debates, like it's like the presidential election truly is like a charisma contest. It's not about the policies at all. I mean, we had Reagan. I mean, that's why we had Bill Clinton. It's why we had Obama. It's why we had Bush. It's all just been like, just have to be slightly more charismatic than the other guy. And it doesn't even matter which partisan it is.
Then they and he says, because they're talking about how John Kerry is just letting them like rip them to pieces. And Aaron Magruder goes, how can you defend the nation if you can't defend yourself? There's a reason people think he's weak. And all I could think about is, when they go low, we go high. And it's like, no. You must go lower. Oh my God. And Maureen Dowd, she goes,
But you know, Speaking of bars, at the bar at my book party the other night,
Yeah.
where you were.
And she points at Bill Maher and is like, oh my God, he's got it so bad for her. He's
Yeah.
going to fucking book parties in New York City.
That's how you know you like you have a crush on a girl for sure.
Yeah, or when they're like, well,
You
I
can
don't know
tell
if I
he
want
kind
to
of
go.
like didn't even want her to say that or something, you know? It's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's he's like, oh God, now all my boys are gonna make fun of me
They
when
think I
see
read
them.
books.
It's like when you match with somebody on Tinder and she's like, let's go to an art gallery opening, and you're like, oh
Oh,
God.
absolutely. I love art. Absolutely.
And then Aaron Magruder does keep saying stuff like, John Kerry's been bitched out. He's a bitch. He's been bitched out. Then he goes, John Kerry is a man in panties. He's been bitched out. He's a man in panties.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I know what you're saying, but you're starting to sound like you're getting horny.
Yeah.
Now, the way you keep saying he's a man in panties. Okay, and then that's when Bill Maher goes,
One of those chestnuts that I don't think is challenged very much is that the Arabs are ready for democracy.
it's very
It's very politically incorrect to suggest, you know what, maybe the people who keep half the population in the beekeeper suits aren't ready for democracy, you know?
Yeah.
First of all, there were democracies in the Middle East before we overthrew those elected leaders and installed, say, the Shah.
Yeah.
And again, they're not Iran, they're not Arab, but
It's
that's what he's talking about.
It's like he wants us to think that he is so smart about the Middle East, but then he even when people are completely innocent in whatever political conversation we're talking about, he takes the opportunity to just like dehumanize anyone brown who lives
Yeah.
in there.
And it's the kind of thing too. It's like, well, okay, so you don't, I mean, by your standards, you don't think maybe then the 50% of the population
Yeah.
who, according to you, is being subjugated, they might want it, maybe it's worth it. And also as well, Iraq, like Islam was the official religion, but Iraq under the Ba'athist Party
Mhm.
was a secular state.
Yeah.
That's why I've said this. That's why Saddam Hussein wore military garb
Yeah.
in public to establish I am not a religious figure. And as time went on and they were like losing power and they were getting more sanctions, they went harder into religion to like garner more support from those people. But wearing a hijab for a woman did not become common until the Ba'athist Party fell from power.
Mm.
Until America invaded Iraq, that was not super common. And then afterwards, there were so many like dangerous right-wing
Yeah.
militia, or dangerous or like religious right-wing militias around that women had to start wearing them in public. And he even says,
If you ask the average Iraqi man, if you said, you know, well, if he still had a head.
just
Yeah.
casually being like, yeah, they get their heads cut off. That's funny stuff.
If you average the Iraqi, you know, what would you rather have? Saddam in power, back in power, or your sister walking down the street in a miniskirt? I guarantee you they'd say I'd rather have Saddam back in power.
And it's like, buddy, no, the mini skirt and those are on the same side.
Yeah.
Like, you know so little about this place and
Yeah.
the people there and the regime that just fell that you're like, well, every Arab man is insanely into religion and insanely into subjugating their wife,
Yeah.
or sister or mother or whoever.
He really is one of the, multi-headed beasts of imperialism, you know what I mean? Of just kind of like washing away any sense of empathy or like understanding we have for these people. I mean, like knowing what I know now, like back then, if I could travel back in time, I'd be cheering on Muammar Gaddafi and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like, I mean, there were various points where the United States government was also cheering on.
Yeah.
Gaddafi is such a fascinating character because it's like, damn, Gaddafi was both the fakest friend and had the fakest friends. Like, no one lived a more fake friend's life than Muammar Gaddafi. Aaron Magruder is the one who kind of says like, but look, like, why we think our democracy is so civilized, but like those people, why don't we just leave them alone? Like,
Mhm.
they probably don't see it that way. And this to me is the sort of like kind of perniciously evil thing about the idea that started in the 90s of like, well, liberalism is the end of society.
Mhm.
Like it's the end of history. we've found the best possible system that
Right.
you can have. And now, so it's the idea of like, no, it is inherently good to force a country to be a democracy because
Yeah.
democracy is inherently good and the best way to do it. Nobody is stopping to be like, maybe there is a better way. Like inherently our values are the best values. And if they're fighting against them, also the idea that like the Bush administration was like, we need to do what's best for the Iraqi people
Yeah.
and give them a great, like all these guys are such goofs
Yeah.
that they're like, oh yeah, but like the Bush administration does sincerely want what's best for the Iraqi people. Look, I'm sure I was this gullible back then.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being this fucking gullible as a 50-year-old man whose career has been about politics.
Yeah, right. I mean, Americans, I don't think even realize that we don't really live in a democracy. We should spread it here first, if anything. I think after October 7th, I like had a mentor in film who was like a director who like like got me a job that was like cool years ago, and he is like a Zionist, and like after shit like that happened, I was like basically we were DMing each other back and forth for probably like 6 months before eventually I was just like, you know what, I don't think we can be friends anymore, essentially.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how like Israel was spreading democracy in the region, like they were the only democracy. And like even just like knowing a cursory glance of the history of like Africa, and like all the stuff that's going on in there, like constantly all the time, I'm just like, you can't possibly believe they're spreading. Show me any example. Show me any example.
Dude, and like here, they're actively retracting democracy in their own country.
Yeah, literally. They're
it's not like they're like, well, we have to have less democracy here so we can spread it other places. Yeah. They're just like, no, we just have to be more regressive to maintain our ethno state.
Yeah.
It and even Aaron Magruder is like, he has more so in the past. Even he doesn't take the time to fully verbalize, like his whole thing is like, leave them alone. And he doesn't fully go into the idea of like what it's insincere to think we're trying to help these people in any way. That's like, you're a fool if you think that. And also maybe there is like a better way that they can find that we should adopt. But if it's just about spreading democracy, once South Korea gets its incel problem under control, I cannot wait for them to invade the United States. Because that is the most fucking like obsessed with democracy country in the world right now. They love to every single person march in the streets when they think it's being threatened.
Yeah, I know.
So then they go to, okay. So then do you remember what they often do a mid-show comedy bit. Do you remember what the mid-show comedy bit was this week? It was very brief.
Let's see. No, wait, this is before Drew Barrymore, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
right before.
Remind me.
Okay, so this is him. This is why you don't remember it. And again, mid-show comedy bit, the one they did in the episode I saw recently.
Yeah.
Although it was fucking crazy how they led into it, but they had a theme song, like a band, like a graphic that played on the screen. So it's like, oh, it's bit time. This one, he just goes, so Larry, I knew you were going to be on the show. You're a comedy legend. I'd like to pitch you a show, MASH, in the Iraq war. And what's funny about that is it's like, well, the whole deal with MASH was that it was set in Korea, but about Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like, so fundamentally, you're misunderstanding the premise of MASH.
Yeah,
unless
literally.
You're like, it's in Iraq, but it's about the first Gulf War. It's like, I don't know about the parallels there, friend. But he pitches 3 story ideas, which is one of them is like an Abu Ghraib joke where it's like, oh, I don't know, Hawkeye or Frank or whoever the fuck is doing ritualized torture against some prisoners they have in a prison camp. And he gets embarrassed because he gets an erection. The next one oh, I don't even know what the next one is. I just wrote this bit is so weird. And then for the third one, I wrote MASH has been off the air for over 20 years
Yeah,
at this point.
absolutely. It's interesting because it's kind of like a peek into like how he probably talks to like every industry connection he has in his phone of just like, let me pitch an idea by you, and they're just kind of just like, haha, yeah, for sure, Bill, you know.
So it's so let's I've got a pitch for you. It's like the Larry Sanders show, but Larry is only a piece of shit to his staff.
Oh,
Funny,
okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I feel like the things kind of shifted after the Bill Burr interview where he like actually got some shit thrown back at him. Or at least in my view, because like
Which one, the Club Random one, or when he was on like a
the,
decade ago,
yeah, the
and
Club
he was like,
Random one. Yeah.
okay,
What's
he's
the
done that to
decade
him.
ago one?
Like a decade ago, he was like, I'm so excited to have you on my show because I'm sure you feel the same way as I do, that this sensitivity and political correctness it's putting comedy in danger. And Bill Burr's like, no, I don't think, no. He's like, what? Who cares? It's few people with like a blog or whatever. I just don't read them. And Bill Maher's like, yeah, but they can get all this attention. And Bill Burr's like, yeah, you get attention for a few days. It's like, yeah, there's some people who just want to be offended by anything. It's like, just don't pay attention to it. It's not a big deal. He's like,
I do remember
go to a
that.
comedy
Absolutely.
club. Go to a comedy club. Really funny stuff happening there. And Bill Maher's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, grow the fuck up.
Yeah, a crowd is offended. The flip side too to that argument is like, now you can go up in front of a crowd and be like, I love abortion. I love it so much. I think everyone should have been aborted. And a crowd will theoretically laugh.
Yeah.
Jake Weissman did a bit about how he loves abortion. Who cares about abortion? So what? Because it used to be a person. So what? We all used to be sperm. He's like, what's sperm? I don't give a shit. I'll suck your dick right now and spit it on the ground. Fuck you and your fucking sperm. And like, would like murder.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we go to, I thought this was going to be a fucking cakewalk. I was like, maybe I'll just skip this part.
Mhm.
He's just interviewing Drew Barrymore about some documentary she made for MTV about voting.
You could literally see like Drew Barrymore's innocence die during this interview. Like she still has like the
was
same
an alcoholic when she was 7 years old.
Yeah, right.
And this is what killed her innocence.
Because you still see that she has like the same kind of like old cutesy mannerisms from like the first part of her career. What is genuinely crazy is that Drew Barrymore is more hated than Bill Maher at this current time. But like she comes into the interview with like such innocence, honestly. She's still kind of like playing up that like baby doll thing, even though she's like turning 30, which is like crazy. I think she's like dating one of the members of the Strokes at this point. And she's literally just like she's talking about how she educated herself about voting, and then like she's trying to like advocate for voting
For young people specifically, yeah.
And then Bill Maher's just like, why don't these fucking young people know how to do this? And I honestly wish like in that moment, like I think all she had to say was just like, well, who's responsible for educating young people? It's the older generation. It should be you. But she's just like, she's just sweet, and she like takes it. He's such an asshole this whole time.
I've never seen him be an asshole like this before, ever. I've never, at this point in time, I've never seen him be just an absolute prick for checking my timestamps. Yeah, like 8 full minutes. He is just an absolute asshole.
And he's like, we've been trying to get her on for a long time. We're so happy to have her. And then within 30 seconds, he's already like being a huge prick.
So he introduces her. He's like, oh, thanks so much for being here. And he's like, how are you? She goes, I'm so good. Thank you for having me. And he goes,
well, thank you for being had.
Yeah, strange.
Fucking disgusting. And then they have this awkward thing where he goes, I saw your documentary on MTV. And she starts to go, oh, good. But he goes, when did they stop showing videos?
Yeah.
And he goes, she goes, I'm sorry. And then she catches his joke and she goes, oh, well, and then he starts talking over her again.
Yeah.
As if he's never done an interview by satellite before.
Yeah.
I saw the documentary on MTV. When did they stop showing
watching.
videos? No,
Excuse
I'm
me?
joking, of course.
He's like, I think initially he's like, I'm really going to like neg this chick and she's going to love it. Then he goes,
I found it very affecting.
so he praises the documentary. He likes the documentary. He establishes off the top.
And I thought you used me very well, and I thought I'd be a very good villain in the next Charlie's Angels movie. Half the country thinks I'm evil already.
Nobody laughs.
That's really funny. I didn't know that.
Dude. Yeah, he and then he just goes, anyway. And
I'm sure that's the only part of the documentary he actually watched, is the part that has him in it.
So he intros her by going, you are the second 29-year-old I've had on that just got politically awakened. And she goes, yes, Andre Benjamin. Dude, Andre 3000 was on the show and was not feeling it at all.
Interesting.
Like, Bill Maher was trying to be like, did you see how they treated Al Sharpton at the DNC? They cut him off just because he went a little over. And Andre Benjamin was like, he spoke for 20 minutes. And Bill Maher was like, yeah, but he was speaking in Andre
That's
Benjamin
funny.
goes, he was only supposed to talk for 8 minutes. And Bill Maher's like, yeah, but they didn't even let him stand near John Kerry. They didn't let him on the stage. Isn't that infuriating to you? And Andre 3000 goes, yeah, I guess I'm pretty mad.
That's so funny.
And Bill Maher goes, hey, keep making music because I love it. They put out one more album and no more music.
That's funny. He's the reason.
Yeah. He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna make flute music now, you fucking piece of shit. So you're the second 29-year-old I've had on that just got politically awakened. She goes, yes, Andre Benjamin.
Who suddenly woke up to politics and voting, and you're both out there urging 18-year-olds to do exactly what you didn't do when you were 18. Now, how do you reconcile that?
That's such a strange thing to hear him say. Imagine, yeah, if you didn't start voting as soon as fucking possible, then you're a terrible person. I know people who didn't vote now who are like 40. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what we're beating people up for. This is ridiculous.
His dad was a newsman.
Yeah.
Like, of course you were interested in this kind of shit. And also it's like, so this whole interview is he wants young people to vote.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things. And he is like raving at her. He is yelling at her.
I think he saw a young, attractive woman and he was like, I fucking hate this bitch, actually.
So like she gives this long answer. Yeah, immediately he's like hostile. He's being kind of jokey, but it's also like, you don't talk to not young women like this.
Yeah.
And she gives this long answer about like, and it's like, Drew Barrymore's life has been horrible.
Yeah, literally terrible. Yeah.
So difficult. And like literally went to rehab when she was like 12 years old. But she's talking about, she's like, the thing is, I've also found this a journey for myself of like learning about these issues and finding out how I felt about them.
Yeah.
It also was like inspiring for me and made me feel I learned a lot about myself, and it was very encouraging. And I think it was a really nice journey discovering these issues, discovering candidates who agreed with me, helped me discover how I feel about these things.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful thing. And you hear that, and any normal person would be like, oh my God, great. That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want people to personalize politics so that they don't just go, I don't know, who's the guy, you know, this sort of broad, who look at politics and see the personal in it so that they can relate to the issues. And he goes fucking crazy. He goes,
You have been watching way too much Oprah. You know what? Excuse me, but it is not about you and feeling good about yourself. It is about something bigger in the country, and that is why we can't get kids in the voting booth or to care. Don't you think that voting is a symptom of a bigger problem, which is that, A, kids aren't educated, they're not informed, and they don't care. Nobody has ever told this generation that there is something bigger than you and yourself and how you feel.
First of all, he is a baby boomer.
Yikes.
Where the fuck do you get off lecturing other generations about being selfish?
Yeah.
You are the generation that invented being selfish. You're like regarded as like the first teenagers because every generation before you was at work when they were a teenager.
And then they pulled the ladder up behind them as well.
Like,
Yeah.
this fucking guy, he is so fucking angry at her.
Yeah.
And she takes it all and she's like, "Oh yeah, like she's like, "Yeah, I thought, but that's the thing is I needed to find a way for myself in." And he like can't let it go. How angry he is
Yeah.
at her, that like she takes this perspective. And the thing is, it's like, you're not in politics for the greater good.
Yeah.
It's your job, shithead. You love to talk about this. Don't act like you're like, I hate politics, but somebody's got to do this stuff. He loves it. He loves it.
Yeah, and he gets paid for it.
Dude gets fucking paid for it.
Yeah. He obviously went into it like with that speech planned, because I mean, like, there's no way that what she said would have set him off that way if you weren't already stewing with it like all day. Obviously, I think it literally just like a woman under 40 was talking for longer than 2 minutes at him, and then he just got so mad that he just like blacked out and had that tirade.
Yeah, she continues to try to kind of answer. I mean, she's the most sincere person. That's the other thing too. It's like, why are you of all the people to yell at?
Yeah.
This incredibly sincere person who, like,
I think as soon as she turned the camera off, she was like, you know what? Fuck politics, actually.
Yeah, she put out a sequel documentary where she was like, don't vote. It makes this guy happy.
Fuck that.
And also, the whole set where they're like, 75% of people over 65 vote, 36% of, 18 to 20 whatever vote. And it's like, well, okay, a part of that is there are way more 18 to 26-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, there simply are way more of those people. But he rants and raves the whole time.
So I found myself, at 28 being ignorant, apathetic.
Well, that's part of the problem, is that kids don't have that in their background. They don't have that dinner table conversation about politics. They don't have the civics course in school. And when you say to them, maybe if you'd vote, things would turn out better for you down the line. Of course, when you're 18, there is no down the line. I mean, why do old people get everything? Because they vote. The senior citizens got this massive drug entitlement program. Maybe if the kids vote, the politicians would give them drugs. And kids want drugs, let's be honest.
She leaves, and then he turns to his panel and he goes,
I didn't mean to yell at her, but when she started with that...
finally got her on and you jumped her.
I'm sorry, but I can't take that talk about, it's got to be all about... Yeah, come on.
And I think you're 100% correct, because her response, he was like, I heard the thing about, me, and I just had to...
Yeah.
Her response is actually a good response to that question.
It's a great response.
So for sure, you are correct. And he had that locked and loaded and was like, what can I use to set me off? To be like, if it were up to me, I would kill everyone under 40 right now as a warning to future young people coming up.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, well, who fucking taught them to be this way? Like, what?
Also,
why is Gen X like that? I don't know. Have you met their parents?
Yeah, literally.
They're not great.
I think deep down, I don't think he wants women to vote, actually.
Yeah, he'll say things like, women don't care about issues.
Yeah.
And then he turns to Maureen Dowd and he goes,
Maureen Dowd, you're a woman.
Yeah.
And a good-looking one.
Yeah, that was super cringe. And then they just really skate past it. I feel is that something that, like, if that happened in 2025, would people skip past that? Probably. I don't know.
It depends on the show.
But it stood out there for sure.
I mean, it is a thing though, like even on Fox News, when Jesse Waters, that panel show he's on with a bunch of women, and he said something like Kamala is so weak that like the generals, he inferred that they would like all rape her or something because she's so weak. And all the women on the panel were like, what the fuck, man? Like even the psychos at Fox News now will be like, don't talk about women like that, you fucking freak.
Yeah.
So I think although I don't know, Larry Gelbart seems like you go along to get along. Aaron Magruder is still being nice on a show at this point in his life.
You could tell it wasn't like him firing on all cylinders. It wasn't him like giving speeches about like how democracy is just like all a lie and stuff like that like go viral to this day. It was just kind of like him in the beginning of his kind of like media press Tory type era.
Yeah, because he still was like, it wasn't a thing where it was like, oh, this guy will intentionally piss anybody off.
Yeah.
People were still like, oh, but I bet he's still deep at heart, like, he's a good young man and,
because
he'll be ready to play ball.
I thought originally you sent me this episode because I thought it might be the episode where Aaron Magruder like goes off. Like there's like an episode where he like kind of goes off or something on
Oh,
Bill,
no.
I think, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I actually, when I saw who the guests were, I was like, I hope Brodie doesn't think I specifically sent him this episode because it's the rare episode with 2 black people.
Literally any black person, I would have been like, oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah, and I think actually the episode I originally sent you, last week's episode, I don't think had any black people on it.
Damn it. I'd have been like, why do you send this? I'd have been like, I think there's a mistake, Will.
So that's when they very briefly talk about how soccer moms as a voting block have been replaced with security moms.
Yeah.
Nothing. Do you even remember anything about that?
No,
I don't even have.
What does that mean? I'm not even sure.
So the security mom, it's like, so moms who just want to take their kids to soccer have been replaced with moms who don't want their kids to die from terrorism.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And he's like, what's up with this? What's up with this new voting block?
Damn.
And Larry Gelbar goes, they're afraid of their children dying.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
now
I think this was before, I mean, like, obviously, like, school shootings were a thing, but, like, not as common as they are.
Well,
and it's hard for me to even say that. But, like,
this is when school shootings were a thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to just normal.
Yeah.
We just normalized them.
Right. True. Yeah, for sure.
And then we get into, so we've had like the racism. I skipped a part. There was a thing here. Okay. Early during the John Kerry debate, there's a moment where they're talking about John Kerry, and Maureen Dowd goes,
This thing about when Carrie does, it's the way you did it, is such a girly thing. It reminds me of myself with guys. It's not that you stayed out on Friday night with your friends. It's the way you didn't tell me. It's.
And normally I do a thing on the show called Marsogyny, where if he says something really sexist, I'll go Marsogyny. I guess this is like more misogyny or like Maureen misogyny. And also that moment, I'm like, well, no wonder he loves her.
Yeah.
She doesn't like women either.
Right, exactly. You could, I got that vibe for sure.
So then they get to the tobacco settlement stuff where he's like, I used to talk about this.
No one ever agrees with me on this, but maybe somebody here will tonight. I defend the tobacco companies. Not that I think they're good. I think just like Saddam, they deserve a special place in hell. A smoking section. But
only a smoking
But
section.
you know what? It is blaming the pusher. And that, to me, was the beginning of our moral decline, when we started to blame the pusher for the bad stuff we did to ourselves.
This was the strangest moment in the whole show for me, because the audience is like 100% on his side here, and I'm like, are we? Did everyone like get hit with a stick or something? Like, we all literally know that cigarette companies lie about everything and push their products to kids. They've been lying about their, health tests for literally all of the century. Like, what is this is when I was just like, oh yeah, this is the most libertarian that has jumped out of him so far. Or this is the most, I'm defending cigarette companies because I like to smoke.
His whole thing, he's coming at it from the stance of people should take some personal responsibility, and the crowd cheers because they're like, yeah, but he's talking about a specific thing.
Yeah.
And so Aaron Magruder goes, well, but they're getting charged with like racketeering and fraud and corruption.
Yeah.
They're not getting charged because like cigarettes are bad.
Yeah.
my cat is going ballistic outside the door right
it's
now.
It's okay. My cat is like literally like coming out of like being in heat, and I'm surprised that she hadn't like shrieked during this podcast. So it's okay.
Yeah, he'll sit on the speaker in front of the door and go like until you come out and go like, oh good, you killed that toy. And he's like, oh thanks, I was worried I wasn't good at this anymore. Aaron Magruder is just like, look, I think drugs should be legal, I think cigarettes should be legal, but like Bill Maher's talking as if the government just went like, give us money for being bad.
Yeah, right.
But it's like, no, they did fraud and lied in their advertising, and they did apparently like racketeering. And Aaron McGruder's like, you should, but it's a business, and if a business does these things, they should be like fined and punished for that. And Bill Maher's still like, yeah, but when did we stop saying people should be responsible for what they do? And Aaron McGruder's like, I mean, I agree, but again, businesses should be held to account. Bill Maher's like, well, what about all the businesses that haven't? And he even says, like, Aaron McGruder's like, I mean, we punished Enron, but like electricity's illegal or is legal. Like, I don't really understand. I don't understand what your problem is here.
It's the most like soft spoken and like caught off guard I've ever seen Aaron McGruder. And because I was thinking the same thing as soon as it happened. I was just like, yeah. Huh?
And then Bill Maher goes, and like, listen, I know they're not great for you, but are cigarettes really that much worse than a lot of things we put in our body? Like,
and at the same time, it is not really maybe it's up there with the things that kill us the most, but I don't think it's any more than food is.
Yeah. And it's like, full stop, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not these days, but geez,
But it's also like, it's like, you also have to eat food.
Yeah.
Like, you need food for nutrients. And he's like, he talks about it like, well, McDonald's, you know, Kobe Bryant did this ad for McDonald's, and it's a toddler eating McDonald's. And it's like, well, your issue here is with advertising to children.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's bad. But like, you can have a McDonald's, man.
Yeah.
A kid can have famously, a kid will light up if they have a fucking McDonald's once in a while, and it's not an issue for them.
When you said light up, I was just like, yeah, those fucking French fries were great.
Like, and he still thinks this too. He still thinks cigarettes aren't, food is worse for you than cigarettes, which famously,
which is why he's so got now, probably.
Yeah, like fucking the previous guest, they were like, I smoked 2 packs a day. And you better believe I feel it's not like I don't feel any better now than I did back before I quit.
Yeah.
Like, cigarettes are fucking worse for you.
Yeah. This was honestly the part of the show where like I really question where this audience came from. Because I mean, obviously they're probably just a paid audience. They just through some kind of service. I know how these shows work. I used to work on shows like this, but
I think it's real fans because he got so much credibility after PI got canceled. And like, I think these are people who are the same people who were like, I think Ron Paul makes a lot of good points because they heard Ron Paul wants to like legalize weed. And then they were like, wait, he publishes a racist newsletter and is opposed to like laws against segregation. Oh, I hate Ron Paul, it turns out.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's people who were like, libertarianism. Yeah, people should be allowed to live their lives. And then they find out what that means.
Right.
You know, they unpave the roads. And it's like, okay, well, I hate this principle now.
Yeah.
Then we're going into new rules. Do you have any more thoughts about cigarettes aren't that bad for you and we're punishing them because we're charging them for... Like, people should go to jail for what the cigarette companies did, not just monetary fines.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like, I think that they should be... I guess I think that they should be legal too, but it's just like... When we think of evil company... we think of tobacco first, I think. I don't think there's another company that we think of first other than probably Enron at this point, but
yeah, and like petroleum companies and stuff. Like BP, because they're always leaking oil into the ocean and shit.
Yeah. God, I wish I was more cognizant of like the conversations people were having back when I was a teenager, because I thought the world was a different place. I thought one thing and then no, actually no.
So we're going into new rules now. Here's the thing with new rules. Before we can talk about new rules, the guest always has to do the new rules theme with me.
Okay.
So I
was noodling on my guitar while I was watching the show, and I learned how to play the theme. It's musically, it is the most nothing tune, period. It's something that like someone probably came up with, like just like, oh shit, we need to edit this thing. Let me get my guitar playing weed dealing cousin to come over and just like literally play anything. Try to play
So
Smoke on the Water, and he's like, oh, I can't remember it. Let me just. It's like 2 2 2 2 2 4 2 2 2 4. It sucks. It musically sucks. That's all I wanted to say.
So do you know, I think the New Rules theme as well, but do you know who came up with the original music for the show?
Who?
Kid from Kid and Play.
Interesting. I bet.
He and Bill Maher are close friends.
Oh man. Kid is the light skinned one?
I'm not sure.
Me neither. I'm
not
not
sure,
that I
but were you about
necessarily
to do some
care.
colorism on my podcast?
No, I wasn't. I don't even think I like one more than the other, but actually that's, well, because I do know the Kid and Play story, and they're kind of interesting because like back when like rap or like hip hop was literally just like a hip it to the bop blah 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 blah, like literally like they were like those kids, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of funny for that. And I love like House Party and stuff like that. And then like as soon as they became like even a little bit not marketable, like once the black community was just like, these guys are kind of corny, actually, they fell off the planet. Um and I know that for a fact that I don't think either of them plays instruments, so I'm sure if he came up with the song, it was just with his mouth.
Yeah, he for sure wrote the main theme, and I think he might have done New Rules as well. The modern theme and modern New Rules have like a little more mustard on them.
Yeah.
But like not much.
Yeah, it's not hard. Let me tell you. I learned it in 10 seconds. It's not hard.
So first new rules. First new rule. Okay, so I'm going to ask, do you have does anything about the New Rules stick out in your mind? Because this is becoming the signature when the show started. New Rules were very brief. Sometimes they'd be as short as like a minute. He'd just do a few new rules, and then they'd have a stand-up comedian at the end of the show.
Oh,
very strange.
Really? I didn't know that.
But now New Rules at this point, this is the signature piece.
Yeah.
Famously, when Charles Barkley was on the show, famously said, "Hey man, I'm just here for the New Rules." So it's a thing.
Classic. The voice of a generation, Charles Barkley.
What did you that and hey, if you're gay, bisexual, transsexual, and somebody has a problem with that, you tell them Charles said fuck you.
Also, I think it was earlier this year when they were in San Francisco for a Warriors game, and then he brought up like homeless people, and then the whole stadium booed, and he was like, "What's wrong with y'all? Y'all need Jesus." I was like, Charles Barkley, man, he's fucking voice of a generation.
It's just saying terrible as terrible is just in my brain for the rest of terrible and Duranto.
My only problem with Charles Barkley is the problem he has with the big beautiful women in San Antonio. But other than that, Sparkle,
which like they did find common ground when they were like, "Hey Charles, what happened?" He was like, "I was in San Antonio and I had some churros. Man, churros are good. I've been eating churros like." And then he's just like doing this. It's like Jack's favorite bit, him shoveling churros into his mouth. What did you think of this New Rules?
I honestly, at this point in the show, and I'll be completely honest, I was zoning out. I don't remember half of these newer rules, so I'm gonna hear half of them for the first time, probably.
That's the most common response to the question, what did you think of these new rules?
And usually that's the part that is also mimetically sticks with me too. I probably once a week I go, new rule.
That's his only real contribution to culture is when somebody's like, yeah, I mean, there's a new rule, and someone will go, new rule.
Yeah.
The new rules are bad. Yeah. They're really boring.
They're never good.
Like, all the time. And so the first new rule, if you don't want the world to think your religion is medieval, stop beheading people. And it's like, well, I got to say, I feel like the people beheading people aren't actually that concerned about people thinking their religion is medieval. I think it's maybe the normal people who live and work amongst us every single day who are like, hey, please stop sending my child home from school in tears with bruises on them every single day. But this one does. He at least does put in the effort to make the round of it where he's like, it's barbaric. You need to be civilized and strap those people in an electric chair like we've been doing since the 70s.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This joke is still like despicable, but at least at the end, he's willing to acknowledge, like, I mean, we fucking kill people all the time.
That's actually pretty good. I kudos to the writer's room on that one, honestly. Even though I have actually come around to beheading people, I think it's actually pretty cool.
I mean, 2025, the most innocuous white women who are like, Luigi Mangione is the most innocent man who has ever lived. Next one. If you're blind, you don't have to pick up your dog's poop.
Yeah, interesting.
So do you remember what this one was about?
No, I have no idea.
He's like, a blind couple has been, brought to court. And these stories also, sometimes I'll actually Google them and I'm like, that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're leaving out a lot of details.
Yeah.
But this one, it's a blind couple was I think, like given a citation and brought to court for not picking up their dog's poop. The punchline to it is, listen, they would have picked it up, but they couldn't see shit. And I was like, you know what? You're allowed to be, even Bill Maher's allowed to be silly once in a while. You know?
For sure. I can't I can't hate it.
We're all allowed to. He didn't make fun of them really for being blind. Like, it's just an acknowledgement of the reality of them being blind. It's probably a thing where they're legally blind, but could still see enough, like legally, where it's like, or their dog was they had a big dog and their dog was taking like medical grade human shits.
I mean, it is a good question. I mean, like, does a seeing eye dog let you know that he's like, hey, I gotta stop for a second?
Yeah. Here's what's crazy. In my head, I'm like, well, a seeing eye dog is smart enough to not do that. And I'm like, it's a dog.
Yeah, right.
New rule. The New York Times must stop running underwear ads like this. And it's just a thin woman in underwear.
Yeah.
And it's black and white.
It's not even like necessarily, I've seen way more provocative ads for underwear. I think it really wasn't that bad. Even in like the like the JCPenney catalog, you can see sexier. It was just like
she's got no face in this photo.
No face.
There's no head.
It's not like lingerie. It's just like,
it's like activewear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny that this 50-year-old man
Puritan
is like
vibes.
This 50-year-old man is like, I'm reading about the genocide in Sudan, and no, I'm getting a boner from a woman.
Honestly, I think this joke was just so he could like continue hitting on Marion Dad. It's just like, this is what I'm into, actually. It kind of looked like her.
Yeah, there was a billboard years ago on the Strip, like past the, like west of the Comedy Store. It was for, I can't remember. It's like the it's like a plus size women's clothing store.
Yeah.
And it was like this gigantic, enormous lingerie ad on it. Like, there are in LA, in Hollywood, there are ads on the sides of buildings that are, no lie, like 50 feet tall.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I think it was like a fairly like famous model, but I remember being like, it's like dangerous to put a woman like this hot, just like in like hot underwear on the side of a building on one of the most congested streets in the world.
I mean, you could do a podcast just about the billboards in LA, honestly. Just the PETA shit alone is a lot of content.
Oh, I live by one of their murals and I want to fucking...
Oh no, I'm sorry.
New rule. There's nothing sacred about marriage. Classic Maher territory here.
Has he ever been married? He has such divorce guy energy.
Oh my, Brodie? No, he would never, ever. He's like, I never wanted to do it. I think it's crazy. It ruins your life. It ruins your sex life. I'm too horny and virile.
No one asked him.
He brings it up all the time.
Yeah.
That he never wanted kids. He doesn't like kids. Cannot stop bringing them up.
Interesting.
Yeah, the closest he's ever coming to defending kids was when Whitney Cummings essentially said, if you like any child other than your own, you're a pedophile.
Right.
And Bill Maher was like, come on, like, no, but I don't like kids, but like people love kids. It's normal to love children and like feel affection towards even other people's kids. And she's like, no, it's weird. It's weird to like, she
Interesting.
said, would you ever go watch a movie about a child? And Bill Maher was like, I mean, yeah, like, you know, with those very loose standards, yeah, I could see myself doing that. And she's like, that's fucking weird. And it's like,
Interesting.
Whitney Cummings is like full QAnon now. She's like full, like, everything is pedo state. She's
Yeah.
insane.
It really makes
But
me
she's
pissed
so
off
funny.
that her career is actually going pretty well right now. My grandma knows who Whitney Cummings is, and she should not know who that is.
Well, hopefully that's just from the leftovers of like her show and Two Broke Girls being on the air. Like
It's I like a lot of it's so weird the number of vile shit that you could see at any given night at the Comedy Store, and then they'll go on like Kelly and whatever her new co-host name is, like morning shows. It's baffling to me.
yeah, Whitney Cummings makes the mistake of like dropping the veil on those shows. Like
Yeah.
I don't think she's welcome on stuff like that anymore. Is your grandma, is she into like conspiracies and stuff though?
My grandma exclusively watches General Hospital, morning TV talk shows, and the news. And the other day, a couple months ago, I think this was like after the election, she was just like, she said something like, I can't believe those Palestinians voted for Trump. And I was just like, Grandma, if I didn't love you, I would be throwing you down the stairs. I don't know, something like that. And that's the most out of pocket thing she's ever said. To be fair, but like she'll get a couple wild takes, and like she hates Trump with like her whole heart. Like it's all I
Yeah.
heard about like the last year about how she wanted like Kamala to win. Like I have like a pink like Kamala hat that I'm probably gonna steal when I leave here because I just think it's so funny. But like her whenever she talks about politics, and I usually enjoy talking about politics, but she's older and she's becoming a little bit senile now, and like so she's just kind of like repeating CNN talking points, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh man, I wish that I could show you. I wish that you had the capacity. I wish that you could still see, so I could show you Instagram on my phone and show you all the leftist shit that I have, because I think you would feel better, honestly, because I think she's kind of just like trapped in like this like hell where she's just like constantly being bombarded by bad shit, and I think it's a little unfortunate.
Do you know Jane Harrison?
Should I? Is that
No, she's from San Francisco. She's a comic. She's a friend of mine. But she
I think I
also was
might,
like,
yeah.
she's living in Chicago a lot, in New York. Like, but she was telling me that she's like, I think my mom is like fully like planning on like joining the DSA now or something because she hates Chuck Schumer so much.
Oh wow.
Because she's like so into resisting Trump, and she found out about Chuck Schumer and how he votes, and she's like, can you believe this? Can you believe they'll stab us in the back like this? And Jane is like, oh mom, I have so much bad news for you.
Yeah.
That's like my dad. I have a lot of problems with his politics, but like we can talk about stuff, and like he gets very heated is the issue, and he'll like get impatient and kind of yell a bit. But I'm now old enough where I'll be like, excuse me, I think this because I'm young. I am 40 years old.
Yeah, I know, right?
You just don't know what you're talking about. But my niece, my sister's twins, and my niece, she was like, yeah, I saw Grampy the other day watching a YouTube video that was called like women driving stick shift fails. And I was like, no, Dad, don't do this. Don't do this, Dad.
Oh no. I mean, one interesting thing about New York is that like there's actually when I walk down the street to go to a bodega or something, like neighbors are talking to each other about stuff. And like when the election was happening, there were like a lot of like older black people like talking about Trump and shit like that. And they all generally hate him, which is great. But I don't think that any of that energy really channels into hating the Democrats, which I think is basically my mission in life. That's the only reason I'm still trying to like do anything with comedy is to try to shift people away from Democrats at this point.
So, new rule: George Bush must start drinking again. I don't even remember what
Yeah.
the sort of fleshed out premise of this was. I think it's just a part of it. It's like, and listen, if you're going to say that the war in Iraq is going great, you might as well be drunk or something like
Yeah,
that. You might
yeah.
as well get drunk first. Final new rule. New rule: let the two men America really wants to see run for president run for president. And it shows a picture of Bill Clinton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is, imagine in the year of our Lord 2025, imagine a universe where like sincerely America just wanted Bill Clinton and Arnold Schwarzenegger to like from either party, those would have been their number one picks from either of those two parties.
The sad thing is that if Arnold Schwarzenegger did become president, like he became governor of California, and that was surreal when it was happening, the whole time it was happening. I was just like, I think we're all on drugs. But if it did happen, the thing is, like, he ran as a Republican, and I don't think he even cares. Like, I think he would have ran as a Democrat if he
Oh
knew
yeah.
a couple more Democrats or something. But like, he actually like wasn't even that bad of a governor, and I do, and I feel like ashamed to say that. But like in the history of the California governors that we had, he kind of was the best one recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I probably like it's this thing where it's like, Schwarzenegger ends up governing further left than you think he is, like
Yeah.
especially on environmental stuff. He always worked really hard to get like the vouchers so that we could be harder on environmental regulations than
Yeah.
the federal ones. And it's like, Jerry Brown, when he runs again, he ends up doing things like he vetoes a bill to make it easier for farmers to unionize. And
Yeah.
like, so it's like, and then obviously Gavin Newsom is like, we'd all love to
Yeah.
put him in a boat and push it out. Like,
There's
nothing
rumors
is
about him
funnier.
like running for president and stuff like that, and
Oh, he's definitely running for president.
there's no one he like started a podcast. That's the beginning of his presidential campaign or whatever. I don't think there's
Do you know
anyone
what that podcast did?
What did they do?
So it didn't move his numbers amongst Republicans. This
Of
podcast where he
course.
talks to the right, it has knocked his favorability amongst Democrats down 15%.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm gonna listen to it
Dude,
now.
dude, like nobody is impressed if you sit down with Charlie Kirk and you go, "My son loves you. Do you have any tips for me politically?"
Yeah. And now he's like trying to like rebuild Altadena, but like they're like openly private equity and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At this
Steve
point I
Silveroff is involved, who's like a real estate guy and was on the civilian police board.
Yeah, at this point I feel like it would be more effective to like call the Lakers Association to talk to Magic Johnson than to like call any of my senators or anything like that.
We know he'd at least be enthusiastic about the call.
Yeah.
And this one, do you remember this one? Because he is, every now and then he does a new rule
Yeah.
where he genuinely agrees and is excited about it. And watching this, he is fucking fired up during this new rule. He's like going hard. He's delivering the punchlines with enthusiasm. The crowd is like screaming the entire time. He says shit like, it'll be the Terminator versus the Sperminator.
Oh, yeah.
Alien versus Predator, which I do think saying Schwarzenegger versus Clinton is Alien versus Predator. That's fucking hilarious.
That's great. That's really good.
But like, do you even remember this one at all?
What the
Just this last new rule. Like, do you remember much of it? Any like the jokes? Like,
Yeah, I do remember this new rule. I mean, I was still. I mean, at this point, I think my brain was just kind of like shut off or whatever. But I think the new rules they just have this energy of just like he like jotted them down in his car or something like that. Like he came into the writer's room with premises and he was just like, make this work. I don't fucking care. This is what I fucking pay you for. They all have that kind of energy. None of them are ever really good. And it's so weird because like I was excited for the new rules when I would watch them, and I think I would enjoy maybe like one of them. But at a certain, I don't know. I have no idea why. I think I just like the way he says new rule.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's it.
It's like crowds like people
Yeah.
love essentially like either a call and response
Yeah.
or a thing you can imitate. Like it's
Yeah,
like
it's like a Family Guy sketch. It's like, you know what grinds my gears, and it's exactly what that is.
it's like how a lot of the pro wrestlers that really get over, either their theme music or their catchphrase, the crowd can either say it along with them or there is a call and response
Yeah.
to it.
Which
That's the show.
honestly, I feel like I just learned a valuable lesson about my own stand-up. I think
Oh.
if there's
A principle I have followed for a long time is this: like, if you need a closer, just write a joke. You can scream the punchline.
yeah, interesting. Yeah.
So that's it. That's the show. That's new rules. We finished it.
I was so
Real
relieved
quick-
when the show was over.
Real quick, out of 5, how much psychic damage would you say this show caused you?
Just in general, the entire run of it.
New rules. Yeah,
it's
or not just new rules. Sorry, the whole real time.
it still causes me psychic damage to this day. Just the fact that it's still on.
No, sorry. I mean this specific episode. How
This
much
specific
psychic
episode?
Yes.
Honestly, a 1 personally. I think it was pretty. It's so I mean, like looking back on it now, it's so like ineffective. I think I know that I watched it when it did air when I was like impressionable and as a kid, and I was just like looking for um just like any hate against Bush, just like any kind of catharsis and stuff like that. And I think that we all kind of got lulled into just like this catharsis, and I think we still have it like with the Daily Show, and I think my problem with the Daily Show isn't even that uh it's looking for a laugh. It's that like it truly is the most credible news source that we have today still, decades after the height of it or whatever. And I think and I don't know who to blame that on. I mean, obviously, I can blame it on the billionaires who own all the news, obviously, and I blame HBO. But like at a certain point, like I think I feel the same way about reality TV. Like my roommates, for example, back in LA, they try to like do all the stuff you're supposed to do. They try to boycott all the things that are sending money to Israel and blah blah blah. But I caught them watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians just last week. And at a certain point, I feel like we do have to. I feel like Bill Maher talking about cigarettes right now. It's just like I think we do kind of have to blame ourselves a little bit for consuming this shit. Because it's still around, and I don't know what enjoyment people get out of it. I truly think it's literally just old people are propping up Bill Maher specifically. I don't think anyone under the age of 50 gives a shit about him at all. Even
His
knows who he
ratings are
is.
so funny. So he and John Oliver have the same ratings, or no? He is more. His ratings generally are like I think like 50% higher than John Oliver's.
Wow.
John Oliver's 18 to 35 is like 20% higher than Bill Maher's.
Yeah.
No young people. You're 100% correct. No young people watch this show.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the host hates them. Why would they?
I mean, I feel like if I went to a retirement community, they'd be playing it on loop or something in like the rec room. It gives that vibe, and I don't think he even really knows that. I think that he thinks that his ideas are still fresh and virile as his podcast when he's smoking a cigar on there or
Oh my
whatever.
God.
I think
The
he
the opening line of the theme for season 2 of I Hate Bill Maher opens with a quote, a clip I got of him from the Aspen Ideas Festival. He was being interviewed, and he goes, "I'm not a journalist. I don't break stories. I break new ways of thinking about stories."
That's really funny. That's actually, if that was a joke, that'd be really funny.
Yeah, like it's not it's like you'd see, like that's like something the Trailer Park Boys would say if it was set at a news station.
Honestly, the Trailer Park Boys, yeah, honest, because he'd be holding the same drink as Julian, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that he's despicable. I want to know the name of the specific HBO executive that like he's got like
David
dirt
Zaslav.
on. Yeah.
He was sat courtside at a Lakers game with David Zaslav. There are
Okay.
photos of it.
Interesting.
I think it was during the strike too.
Yeah, I think we need to get rid of television just in general. I mean, there's so many problems in the world that like it's there. I mean, like this would be on a list of 100 things. This would be like 100 of what I'm surprised at, honestly. But I mean, someday he'll die, and that'll be a good day. That's all I can really say.
So you think this show could lead to like a resurgence in the Khmer Rouge where they just empty the cities out and try to recreate an agricultural society?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I do think that like
They also, to be clear, I also want to acknowledge they killed 2 million people in the process of doing. Some estimates put the number as high as 3 million. Just so nobody thinks I am denying the Cambodian genocide for some reason.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yes, yeah.
It does bring me
Pol Pot, more like Pol Not. Thank you very much.
Well, you're gonna get canceled. It does make me genuinely a little happy knowing that like his only real cultural relevance to people my age is the Bill Burr clip where he's telling them to shut the fuck up and stop acting tough. Like I do think that that is going to be his legacy, more than anything else. So that makes me happy. If any, yeah, I don't know. That's it.
Do you have any plugs?
I mean, if you live in Los Angeles, come see me do comedy. I'm sure I'll be having a show once a week for the rest of my adult life, at the very least. So, but just in general, I care so little about the industry. I'm really only trying to like be like the most I'm only just trying to like be like a comedian who you would book at your commune. You know what I mean? Like I want to be like I want to have ads for whatever special I have in like a zine that you pass around that has 4 pages on it or something like that. I care so little about the entertainment industry anymore, but I do love to network, you know what I mean? I do love to build community, so if you like this, you could follow my ass and book me for whatever.
Wait, it's Ayo Brodie Reed.
Ayo bro.
Ayo bro.
Yeah.
I had somebody years and years ago. I did a show in San Francisco in the basement of a video store,
Yeah.
which was an incredible venue, a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
somebody came up to me after the show who knew me from Twitter, and they were like, "I love the way you do comedy, but it's also like a criticism. Your comedy is also a criticism of like capitalism, but also like poking fun at like left-wing politics from a left-wing perspective." And as they were saying that to me, I was like, I am going to die poor.
That's funny. Actually, you know
There
what?
is no money in this.
You just reminded me. I haven't, at the time of talking about this, but I probably will tomorrow. Like, my biggest platform was Twitter, and as soon as Elon bought it, I got
Yeah.
off, and I've effectively been kind of offline for the last couple years. But I do think that if we're going to organize in the future, in the near future, we do need our platforms. So I'm trying to get on Blue Sky. So I'm going to get on Blue Sky. By the time this podcast comes out, I don't know what you call a tweet on Blue Sky.
They call them skeets. I just say posts.
Skeets?
Yeah, you can tell people who say skeets, you don't want to follow those people.
Yeah,
They can't be
no.
trusted.
No. I guarantee I'll have at least, I want to say 5 posts on Blue Sky by the time this
Yeah.
comes out.
Blue Sky's fine, but like it just lives so much in the shadow of
Yeah.
like people use Blue Sky to talk about Twitter a lot.
I mean, I'm
and
mostly gonna just use it to take pictures and then post them on Instagram, so you can still follow me on Instagram.
Perfect. So you can support this show on Patreon. As I mentioned, Al Worth returned and we talked about the Club Random that Kid Rock was on. I'm also going to say
Mhm.
I'm about at the current moment, I'm 12 away. If the show gets to, if the Patreon, the tier gets to 250 members on Club Random, he puts these weird fucking drops in his soda water. And for a long time, everybody was like, what is this? What's he doing? I believe it's called Jing. For some reason in my head, it's always Jimp, but I think it's called Jing, and it's supposed to taste like Diet Cola or Diet Cola. And you look at the ingredients and it's like nootropics and like 12 different mushrooms. And if the Patreon hits 250 members, I will buy Jing and try it with some other people.
Honestly, if you told me that he was dropping like rhino dick pills in his soda, I believe it.
He's the kind of health guy who's like, food these days will kill you. But I also believe he would take like boner pills from a gas station if a guy with a beard long enough told him to.
I'm sure he has like Alpha Brain or something as a sponsor. What's the one that Pete Holmes does? Magic Mind? Yeah, I'm sure he's got Magic Mind at his house.
Yeah, Magic Mind. Yeah. I'm gonna contact them and try to I want to find out if Pete Holmes is an investor or not.
He has to be. He has to be.
Nobody buy Magic Mind, but check out those commercials for Magic Mind. It's the wildest cross section of stand-up comedy business freaks you have ever seen in your life.
They're all
it's
freaks.
Like it's Brendan Schaub and Pete Holmes and the guy who went from being a comedian, the biggest college comic, to becoming a fucking weird, like inspirational speaker. Kyle Cease, like,
man,
what a bunch of weirdos.
Man, I think
and no women in those ads, man.
It's strange that to make money in comedy, it's like a requirement to be like a morally bankrupt person.
That's the show. But one final question, Brodie, before I let you go.
Yeah.
And that question is, do you, Brodie Reed, hate Bill Maher?
Actually, you know what? I kind of like him. Now. Actually, yeah, you know what? He's actually kind of pretty good guy, actually, after talking about him.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. That's the show, and good night and good luck.